By the way, vanilla ice cream is better. To all your chocolate ice creamers out there, I don't care. You're wrong. And I hope your brain right now just smashed the yes, vanilla ice cream or no, it's chocolate ice cream. So I know I made it a lot about politics, but really it can be about anything. Hi, my name is Guthrie, and I'm here to talk about behavioral economics. Today's topic is self-regulatory fit and persuasion. It's very important. I really, really love this topic. And it all has to do, I know it's a mouthful. It's kind of hard to understand what it means. But all self-regulatory fit and persuasion means is the crux of it is if I am trying to communicate a message to a group of people, I will have more success communicating to a group that is oriented in the same orientation that my message is. And this isn't Republican or Democrat or liberal conservative orientation. It's a little different. It's more behavioral economics-y than that. It goes deeper. But I think it really explains a lot of what's going on in society, in my personal opinion. So the paper I'll be working on is Bringing the Frame into Focus, the Influence of Regulatory Fit and on Processing Fluency and Persuasion by Lee and Aker. And to give you an idea of what fit is, there are two types of fit that people orient themselves with, okay? So one is a promotion strategy and one is a prevention strategy. Promotion strategies, which are also known as promotion focuses, emphasize pursuit of gains and avoiding non-gains, right? So it's an aspiration towards ideals. Now, you can be in a promotion focus if you're a Democrat or if you're a Republican, but it's on different issues, or if you about ice cream or about whatever you're doing, right? But you can be in one or the other. A prevention strategy, also known as a prevention focus, is just trying to accomplish a goal. I'm doing so to reduce losses, pursue non-losses, and is often invoked in the fulfillment of obligations. So I'm just trying to get, this done. And so instead of trying to maximize my gains, I'm just trying to prevent my losses and get out of there. So here's a good example of the two. Again, promotion focus or prevention focus. So there are two groups that are leaving from Washington, D.C. to go to Chicago. Both take the exact same trip, their drive, and both take it in the same amount of time. Now, one of the groups is a newlywed couple from Sweden. They're taking a holiday in the United States for the summer, and they're just there to have fun. The second group is an HVAC repair company, two technicians going out to a client, driving, and then they'll drive back. So both groups take the same spots, stop at the same places, take the same amount of time between DC and Chicago. In theory, their trips should be the same. But if you look at it from a regulatory fit analysis, you'll get a different result because they have different goals. The fun Swedish couple are probably in a promotion strategy. They want to have fun. They want to maximize the trip. They want to see as many cool things as possible. They want to maximize gains. The HVAC repair folks, they don't want anything to go wrong. They got to get to this client and fix the HVAC. HVAC being heating, cooling systems, that sort of thing. They don't want any hiccups. They don't want a flat tire. They don't want to be late. They just want to get there, minimize their losses, and get there as fast as possible, as reasonable as possible. So in both cases, even if it's the same trip, you're going to have very different types of trips because of the orientation of the people in them. Now, this obviously has all sorts of implications and ramifications in all sorts of things, especially politics. I know here in the United States, things are very divisive right now. The whole thought bubbles where, I only hear things from other people with my same opinion, and that reinforces, my own implicit biases is a hot topic. And I think this idea of promotion or prevention orientation can help us understand why we've found ourselves in these situations from a behavioral science perspective, and I think can provide a lot of solutions about how to overcome these biases, if that is indeed a goal that we as a society want to pursue. So I'm gonna skip, in the paper I blabble on for forever, and I wanna skip to what the research says. Okay. So they did they split people into a condition, and the goal was to either put people in a prevention focus or a promotion focus. Again, promotion being I want to maximize my gains, prevention being I want to minimize my losses. And they kind of did this with language in an ad. It was all about orange juice, or Welch's grape juice. I believe it was grape juice. So it's juice, and so there's one would have language suggesting that diets rich in vitamin C and iron lead to higher energy levels, right? Other maximizing language. You want to get the most out of life. And then in the prevention condition, had language, growing evidence suggests that diets rich in antioxidants may reduce some of the cancers and heart disease, right? I want to minimize my losses. I don't want to get sick. I want to just stay in my, I want to stay and be safe. So then what they did was, after they've put people in these frames, they then gave them an ad, and the ad had various taglines. The point is that people who were in a promotion orientation responded much better to ads that were gain focused, and people who were in a prevention orientation responded much better to ads that were loss focused. So the effectiveness of the ad was based on the orientation of the people. Again, the people were the same. They were just initially kind of tricked into being prevention or promotion focused. Whatever the ad was, it worked best with people who were already in that orientation. So when you're going about and working on a message that you're going to send to someone, you should really think about what orientation is your audience. And I want to give a great example about politics, which is immigration. Here in the United States, immigration, obviously a very, very, very hot topic. And so, the traditional Democratic, which is the liberals over here in the United States, view on immigration is often, or people who have an opinion about immigration on the liberal Democratic side, classically, have a promotion view of immigration. So when they think about immigration, they generally think to maximize gains. So they talk about the benefits immigration can bring, like more small business startups, greater cultural diversity, more economic growth because there's more people, that kind of stuff. And as a personal economic note, the research generally suggests that immigration is good for overall economic growth because more people means more small business, and that can be an engine of growth. But for a subset of people, it actually is bad for economic growth. So for the overall U.S. economy, immigration is a good thing, but for some people, it can be a bad thing. Now, conservatives, which are the Republicans over here in the United States, tend to take a prevention strategy on immigration. So when they talk and they think about immigration, they often talk in terms of reducing losses. So reducing drug importation, stopping terrorist threats, reducing job losses, and not overcrowding the social safety net. So just by looking at the different orientations, you can, how can you think this crazy thing, right? If you're on one side, how could they be so stupid to think this thing over here? And how could you be so stupid? How could you even come to that opinion? And it's because of the different orientations. One side is in a very promotion, let's go get gains, let's make things better orientation. And the other is in a very much a prevention strategy. Like, we need to stop the losses. And there's not a right or a wrong, it's just a different opinion. You could have the same prevention versus promotion when it comes to ice cream. It's, it is the same behavioral science, behavioral economic, cognitive bias or weird human quirk. That's just how we are. And we have biases for everything, but that's kind of one of the ways that things can create that divisiveness. Now, what's really interesting, and I think, is if you look at, and I'm going to skip a bunch of the other studies that you should really read the paper because it's much more thorough. But when you look at, for example, President Trump, when Trump ran for office. Against that, if you remember the 2016 Republican primaries, there were a lot of candidates. And a lot of the candidates had kind of traditional Republican messages. But Trump's message was very, very, very much protection based. So make America great again. Stop drugs. DC is a swamp. We need to, stop the losses. Minimize losses. Very much prevention orientation. And some other candidates had a prevention orientation, but none were as strong as he was. And it's my opinion that the Republican base, especially, and I don't want to speak out of turn, but in my personal opinion, felt somewhat that their that the America that they felt they loved was under attack. And so in that case, his audience had a which his audience being the Republican people who voted in the Republican primary, had a very strong prevention orientation. So all these people who are just sitting there with a very strong prevention orientation, we want messages of prevention. Prevention is what we respond well to. Prevention. And then Trump comes along and has a very strong prevention message. It really, really, really resonated. And the same, you can say, happened on the Democratic side 8 years earlier in 2008. So you have Democrats with a very, generally, in the Democratic primary, which was Barack Obama against a couple of candidates, but including Hillary Clinton in 2008. That was the first time Barack Obama ran as a candidate after the 2 terms by President Bush. And the Obama message was, so the Democratic orientation at the time, and probably still, was very promotion focused, right? We gotta make things great. Make things great again would be, we have to stop the losses, and I understand it's a little tricky, but about hope and change. We're immigrants. We need to expand. We're a great country. Great this. Hope. Friendly, more optimism. Right. So so he had a very, very, very strong promotion message when compared to his biggest rival in that election was Hillary Clinton, who had a more I would say more middle of the road conservative. We got to stay the course, and here over. So you have this. They have this liberal audience that very much wants a promotion message. They want a maximize gains message. We need to get the best out of people and make the most out of everything. And then here comes Barack Obama with this very strong promotion orientation message, and he does really well. So why is this so strong? And I think the reason really has to do with the fact that when, and I'm going to quote from the paper, it's about what feels right. When a message frame is consistent versus inconsistent with the way in which individuals naturally think about issues that involve positive versus negative outcomes, the message becomes easier to process. This ease of processing is subsequently transferred to more favorable attitudes. So let's just pretend that you love ice cream. I hope I don't have to convince a whole lot of you about that. Ice cream is amazing. It's basically sugar fat. So if I come to you and I say, ice cream is delicious, you should love ice cream too. If you're already in a promotion focus when it comes to ice cream, and your viewpoint is, I do like ice cream, I want to have as much benefit as I can from ice cream, let's ice cream. Then when I come and say it, it's very easy for your brain to have those facts, align them with your orientation, and then it's very fast. And when it comes to behavioral science, fast usually means you agree, strong and confident. And the faster that signal can be processed, the more it feels right. On the flip side, if I come to you, let's say again, you're in a promotion focus when it comes to ice cream, and I come to you with a prevention message. You need to watch out with ice cream. It is full of fat and calories and sugar, and you don't want to have too much of that. You need to live as long as possible, and I'm telling you, ice cream is maybe not the best for that. That is a message that may resonate with you if you're in a prevention focus. But even if you're in a promotion focus, you can at least identify with it. You can think about it, but it's harder. It's not going to feel correct. You're probably sitting there, screw you, I like ice cream, don't tell me about ice cream. So whether you're in a prevention focus or a promotion, I bet you were already making, had your stance when it came to my takes on ice cream. And so when it comes to all sorts of, whenever you're trying anyone, politics or advertising or just even people in your own organization, if you have a message of promotion, you need to be saying that to people who have a promotion focus for you to be successful. If you have a promotion focus and you're trying to give it to a prevention crowd, it's not going to work because, again, the ideas, it takes longer to process, and that doesn't feel right. It feels wrong, and then you disagree. And so when things line up with what you agree, your brain will process it faster. Again, this is the theory. And when it's faster, it feels more familiar and it feels more correct. And so again, I have research in here, and I'm not going to go through all the papers. I encourage you to read the paper. They did 5 more experiments, and I just want to quote quickly. In high regulatory fit conditions, more support reasons came to mind, and heightened effectiveness was perceived by participants. However, it was the perceived effectiveness that appeared to directly impact brain attitudes, thereby shedding light on the specific nature of the processing fluency mechanism. So I just want to say that's a summary from the paper, and to tie it all together, quote, "Our results demonstrate that enhanced processing fluency, which is, again, I am processing something and it's in line with how I'm already oriented, that enhanced processing fluency associated with higher eagerness and higher vigilance under regulatory fit conditions leads to more favorable attitudes." So this is exactly what I was saying. The research is there that when you are in line and your message is in line with someone who's already sharing your orientation, it will feel right and you will have a stronger impact. So, oh my God, I'm sorry for the long, complicated post, but it is very, very, very important. I think it explains a lot about messaging and society. It is important to understand your audience. Is your audience prevention focused or promotion focused? So if you want to be successful in any sort of place, where voting matters, you gotta make sure that you're in the right orientation. So what happens if you are in the right orientation and everyone else is in the same orientation, right? So let's say you're selling soda, and your message is promotion, and your audience is promotion, good, but all your competitors are promotion too. What do? You just have to be the loudest promotion orientation, right? You need to be louder than your competitors. And in a lot of ways, if you look at what's happening politically, that's exactly what you're seeing. What is winning with prevention or promotion-oriented crowds? It's whoever has the loudest message that aligns with everyone else. So Trump in the Republican primaries, even though some other candidates had a prevention focus, his prevention focus of, we need to secure our borders, we need to secure our way of life. America is going down we need to stop the hemorrhaging of losing, stop the losing. That was basically his quote. Stop getting taken advantage of by other countries. His prevention orientation message was so much stronger than his competitors. And I think that's why he was able to be so successful in the election. So, with that out of the way, I hope you now understand the importance of prevention versus promotion orientation. So, a couple takeaways. You need to know what orientation your audience is. Again, if you have competitors, be the loudest voice. If your competitors are giving the wrong message, just give the right one and you'll win. If we as a society want to stop the siloing of our ideas and the groupthink that we have, where we're just sitting in one place and only get, if we're in a prevention focus and all of our people are giving us prevention messages, and that's the only people we follow because we don't want to hear any promotion messages because they feel wrong, we're just doubling down. So how, as a society, how do we fix this problem if that's something that we indeed want to do? Well, in the same way that there are implicit biases that we all have. I have, you have, about race and about being lazy and about, I'm going through this whole list of all these cognitive biases, all these weird human quirks that we have as a species. And the only way you can really overcome them is you can't change your brain. If you have a promotion orientation and someone hits you with a promotion message, you are going to feel that that's better, and nothing can stop you from that feeling. But what can then happen, and the only way that this will get fixed, is that you recognize, I am having this feeling because it's in the same orientation. But I'm recognizing the feeling, I'm accepting it, and then I can rationally make my own decision and choice about whether or not I agree on that issue. Not just I'm smashing the agree button because it fits my orientation. And if you look at something, for example, race is a great example. There's a great study by Harvard. I encourage everyone to go. You can go online and take it, and it'll, tell you if you have racial bias. And everyone does. And it's not a bad thing. It's part of the society and us as human beings. So how do we overcome racism? You can't stop people from having racial bias. Think of a split-second decision of a cop in a dark place, right? It's just, it is what it is. But accepting and understanding that I have these biases, and that's okay. That's that is how my brain is working. I can't stop how my brain is working, but just recognizing, oh, I have this bias, and then using the rational part of our head to adjust for that, to compensate for that, to then have rational, open thought. That's how you fix the problem. That's the only way that these problems of siloing and groupthink in the United States are going to be fixed, is if people understand that they are feeling the way they feel because they're receiving orientation messages in their same orientation, and then maybe if they decide, they can see it from the other person's perspective. So that's a little kumbaya, I understand, but I'm telling you, this is the behavioral science, behavioral economics behind this phenomenon. And if you want to overcome it, what is required is for people to accept. It's all about acceptance. Accept that you have the biases that you have, and then use the rational part of your brain to decide, logically whether or not you agree or disagree, and you can take a stance on the issue. And even if you decide, hey, I'm promotion oriented. This is the promotion message. I agree. I've thought about it. This is still the message I want. You can at least see from the other side's view. You can step back and say, if I was prevention oriented, what would I agree with? And that can hopefully break down some of the barriers and some of the walls where people can't even begin to understand why one side feels the way they do and the other side feels the way they do. By the way, vanilla ice cream is better. To all your chocolate ice creamers out there, I don't care. You're wrong. And I hope your brain right now just smashed the yes, vanilla ice cream, or no, it's chocolate ice cream. So I know I made it a lot about politics, but really it can be about anything. And a lot of companies have really played this up. You got Pepsi versus Coke. You got, the Walmart versus CVS, Burger King, McDonald's, or Subway McDonald's. It goes on and on and on and on. It's very common in the marketing world. So just think about whether you are promotion message or prevention message, and whether your audience is prevention focused or promotion focused. So thank you so much for watching. I hope this goes viral, because I personally think this is really, really, really important. I hope I did a decent job explaining it. It is hard. It is complicated, but hopefully you enjoyed this video. And if you did, let me know. And if you think that I am a horrible, evil behavioral economist, let me know too. I can take criticism because I am open and I accept your promotion orientation. Thank you. Hello, my name is Guthrie, and I'm here today to talk about behavioral economics. And specifically, today's topic, it's a little long, it's a little complicated, but it's one of the most important videos I'm going to do. And it's all about self-regulatory fit and persuasion. So I know that sounds clunky, but I didn't come up with the name of it. But today's topic is really all about if you're going to send a message to someone or send a message out to a crowd, you're going to have the most success with people who are aligned and oriented with your message. That's the cliff notes of it. I'm going to walk you through a paper called Bringing the Frame into Focus, The Influence of Regulatory Fit on Processing Fluency and Persuasion by Lee and Aker. So what Lee and Aker didn't invent this, but they did the great research about it. And basically, there are two types of persuasion. Okay, so the first is called a promotion strategy, and the second is called a prevention strategy. So that's what's called regulatory fit. So promotion strategies, which is also known as a promotion focus, emphasize the pursuit of gains and an aspirations toward ideals. Prevention strategies, also known as a prevention focus, you're trying to accomplish the same goal, but the prevention strategies try to reduce losses or pursue non-losses, and it's often used in the fulfilling of obligations. So the best way I can explain this is just to give you a quick example. So let's just say there's a road trip from Washington, D.C. to Chicago. The goal is the same for both people. Drive from the nation's capital to Chicago. So there are two different groups of people. The first is a newlywed couple from Sweden taking a holiday here in the United States, and the second is employees who work for an HVAC company who are on a business trip because they had to go and repair something for a client, and they're coming back. So both groups, they take the exact same trip, they have the same stops in the same amount of time. Ideally, their approach should be the same to make the trip, but one has a prevention and one has, most likely, has a promotion strategy. The fun Swedish couple, is probably using a promotion strategy. They want to have fun. They're here in the United States to see everything there is to see and go explore, and they're on an adventure. So, they're going to go to cool stuff because they are trying to maximize gains. The point of the trip is to get as much of it as possible from the trip. It's great. It's wonderful. Now, if you look at people who work for the HVAC, and I suppose I should have said HVAC is heating, cooling, vents, that sort of thing. So the HVAC repair people are in probably a prevention focus. They're trying to minimize losses. They don't want, if they have a good time, great. But what they really want is they don't want to have any hiccups. They don't want to have a flat tire or to be late or for a car to break down. They need to get to the client and fix this as soon as possible without any other trouble. So because they're in different directions, you're going to have different views and feelings on the trip, even though the trip from the computer program perspective is identical for both groups. Now, this holds true in a lot of different ways, and the biggest kind of thing I want to kind of look at it is from a political context, and I think this is a really, really, really amazing idea. So, for example, right now immigration is a hot button issue here in the United States, and I'm not going to talk about the left versus right. I'm not going to say one is right, one is wrong. It has nothing to do with that. It has only to do with the orientation of these people. So Democrats, which are the liberals here in the United States, tend to, when it comes to immigration, orient themselves in a promotion strategy. So they often look to maximize gains when it comes to thinking, not in terms of immigration policy, but when it comes to I'm a traditional Democrat liberal. How do I think about immigration? And generally, it is a promotion strategy. So you're talking about maximizing gains. The benefits that immigration can bring: more small business startups, more cultural diversity, higher economic growth. And as a slight aside, as the economist, immigration is generally proven to have higher economic growth, except for a certain for some people, and then they have lower economic growth. But, you know, if you're talking about the U.S. as a whole, generally more people means more products and goods being sold, that kind of stuff. Conservatives, however, which is the Republican Party here in the United States, when it comes to immigration, tend to have a prevention focus when it comes to the immigration topic. So they are thinking in terms of reducing losses, reducing drug imports, stopping terrorist threats, if you stopping immigrants from coming and taking jobs, or not overcrowding the social safety net. So there's no right or wrong, but you can see that even when you're looking at the same issues, how do you get two different sides that are so radically different? It's because people are in a different focus. Now, the reason that I mentioned the bringing frame into focus earlier is because it basically gives the science behind why this focus exists. And we've had, a lot of talk about the ideas bubble, right? So I'm on Facebook, and the only thing I ever see is people of my orientation. And if you're, on Twitter and you're a conservative, you only, you're thinking in your little thought bubble over and over and over, and people are not exposed to other ideas. It's a hot button issue. And Americans do seem to feel more polarized than they have in the past. Why is that? So why it's happening, I think, happens on an individual level. And so, if you want to fix it, and this is just a little personal note, if you want to fix the polarization that's happening, is that people, left and right, have to accept that they are in different orientations, and that they are that they have this bias. And it's not a bias, but a cognitive bias, a weird human quirk. And once you understand that you may be feeling and thinking these things because of the orientation you're in and the message that's being sent to you, especially if you're not getting messages from other sources, then you can actually at least combat your bias. And the best example is racial bias. I encourage everyone to go take. There's a Harvard study about unconscious racial biases. I encourage everyone to go take it. You'll all be incredibly racist. It's just how it is. I took it. I was very racist. It's just, and by racist, I mean in the split-second moments, they show you a bunch of pictures really fast, and you have to cross-coordinate. And it can very, very easily demonstrates that when it comes to, for example, me as a white male, when there are, associating black faces with, happy things, in the split-second moment, I know that I'm slower than when it's a white face. It's just how it is, and it's like that way for almost everyone. And so understanding that isn't up to me, that is a product of how, the culture is, and how it understanding that I do have that racial bias. So if I was a police officer, right, understanding that in that split second that I might make a different decision because of someone's skin color, that is important for me to know, so that then the rational part of me can understand I have the bias and move on. So in the same way, if you want to stop, boy, I need to redo this. I need to avoid that. Tighter.